Warning. This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and things are heating up, things are getting a bit more wild. Ultimately, you could maybe hear it in my tone of voice, I've just got this dismissive attitude towards the news at the moment. I often don't pay much attention to the news apart from to sort of point at it and laugh. But the charts are the truth, the charts don't lie. The charts are actually quite nice at the moment. They're actually quite easy to read, in my humble opinion, at least for now. Things can change and they can change quickly, but they haven't changed yet. All the while, my read on the market is good and I'm confident in that read, then I don't really see the point in paying too much attention to anything else. It's just going to be a distraction. I am going to point at some things and kind of mock and laugh at them. Some of them possibly more serious than others, but I'm sure if you've been watching my channel for a while, you're probably used to this kind of approach to markets by now. Before we get into the kind of news section of today, Capitalize here sent me this. And I really, really like this, and it provoked an interesting thought that I was having last night before bed, and then in my dreams as well. So I'm going to share that with you. This is back in the 60s. You can see the S&P 500 here. The white vertical lines denote every 2 years. And so just pause for a second, take a good look at this, okay? Understand it, kind of impress that on your brain. And then when I click into the next slide, here we are today for the S&P 500. So the question is this what's going to occur? Are we going to get this kind of big chop? Notice the 2026 timeframe, okay? End of 2026, coming into 2027. What's so significant about that? Well, that's exactly where I'm expecting the 4-year cycle low for Bitcoin to show up. And to me, at least, it begs the question of, are we going to get some kind of blow off top? This would be as late as November, and then we would get that extended bear market for both the stock market and for Bitcoin. Just before I give you my thoughts and what I was dreaming about last night, we've got an interesting pattern with a stochastic RSI here on the yearly candle time frame. So every candle is 12 months. And you can see that whilst we had this push up into this peak back in 72, we also had bearish divergence, okay? Bearish oscillator divergence, meaning the oscillator is making lower lows and lower highs, whilst we have the divergence in price making higher highs and higher lows. This, of course, is indicative of underlying weakness, of momentum waning, and you can see that by the time we get down here and the divergence is the widest, of course, what comes next is this. Fast forward to today, what have we got? Potentially in the making, right, of the same divergence showing up here, left to play out. To me, this begs the question, doesn't it? Are we actually going to get this left translated cycle top? Are we going to get the blow off top in the stock market? Is some kind of deflationary bust and recession going to occur? And is that going to force an extended bear market? And I was thinking about this last night, as I was saying to you, and in my dreams. And I was also talking to Kemazabi on the podcast about this. And we were both saying we're struggling to reconcile what is going to have to occur to prevent them stepping in and printing and prop this thing back up. Why should it be that we don't get a double pump in Bitcoin, right? Why should we get, let's assume we get the left translated cycle top, okay, an extended bear market, then we know for Bitcoin, the cycle low, the 4-year cycle low is not due to around November of 2026, say plus or minus a couple of months. And the biggest question I get all the time from people is, well, won't they just print halfway through and won't it result in a double pump to a right translated cycle and then a 12-month bear market, as we always have seen before with Bitcoin? And yeah, they might do, right? I certainly would be lying to you if I said there's no way they print halfway through, right? We don't get some kind of first pump, pullback, big significant 50% shakeout, then the printers go bear and Bitcoin goes like this onto a right translated cycle top, 12-month bear market. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a possibility. I've been consistent in saying that the reason I didn't want a left translated cycle was because we would have to probably play a breakout halfway down, not knowing whether it was going to be a double pump or whether it was going to be some kind of fake breakout that fails, rolls over, and we have to pay a stop and give some of that back. And so the biggest thing I couldn't reconcile is, why is it that they won't just step in and print to save this thing like they've always done? Why is it then that the cycles tell us that we are going to have that extended bear market decline. Because the longer you trade cycles, the more you realize that the cycles actually are in control. It's the cycles that drive the market, and humans, the news, traders, the government find a narrative to append to those cycles. But the cycles are the thing that are coded into the universe. The cycles are the only thing I'm sure we will see, and everything in the middle just seems to be attributed to the price action. So again, going back here, it tells us that if this thing is to repeat, then we will probably see a top come in around November, as I've been quite consistent in saying, sometime between July and November at the latest would give us that left translation for Bitcoin, and I expect the stock market to go with it. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get that. As I've been saying over and over again, the biggest pushback is, oh, well, Camel will get, maybe if we get a pump here and a left translation, it will turn into a double pump because they will just print and not allow this thing to crash. And thus, the question I was thinking about with Kemosabe, the question that was keeping me up last night, and the thing that I was dreaming about last night was indeed, what on earth is it going to have to be? What's going to have to occur to prevent them printing in here? And in my dream last night, we had been locked down due to excessive violence. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. That was just my dream. But that was certainly an interesting thing for me to wake up and ponder. Last night, I was thinking perhaps they turn some kind of systems off. Perhaps we see some kind of cyber attack. I know this was Kemosabe's idea from the live stream, and I was contemplating that last night, and I was thinking maybe they do, right? Maybe we get some kind of cyber attack, maybe we get some kind of banking shutdown, and that prevents them printing, or at least they use that as an excuse not to print. And remember, all of this is speculation, but what isn't speculation is that cycle low down here, okay? That's not speculation. That is written into the code of the universe. That is the only thing I am actually sure of, and it's the path we take to get there that is up for debate and up to be determined, up to be proven. And so those are my weird and wacky thoughts, right? I'm just, like anyone, trying to figure out what could be on the table, what could be on the cards, trying to position myself accordingly, trying to take it one day at a time and figure this whole mess out. And then I wake up to this from Mr. Burns, who says, hey Camel, did you know that 2025 will be the peak in solar sunspots? Could take down a few low Earth satellites, maybe the IT infrastructure if really strong. And so this thing is looking to peak sometime around early 2025, perhaps like back here and here, we get lower highs here and here, lower highs here and here, lower highs. Does that suggest that we're going to get some kind of peak, lower high, right? And in this neighborhood, and I know this sounds wacky, don't get me wrong, I'm by no means presenting this as fact, or this is by no means a doom post or an end of the world call or anything like that. This is just me pointing at things and saying, it seems to me like some weird stuff is going on. It seems to me like one of my favorite sayings, which is when the student is ready, the teacher becomes available, right? When you are actually ready to receive information, it finds its way to you. And I can't help but wonder if that's what this is, right? If that's what this is. Is this the answer to what I was dreaming about last night? Is this the answer to what I was thinking about last night before bed? Are these solar cycle sunspots possibly going to be blamed for taking down the banking system or preventing the printers coming in early? Is this what's going to be the scapegoat for them to delay the printing until we can find those cycle lows? So there's some weird and wacky ideas in there. I appreciate it. I hope you can appreciate that. You know, I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I agree. All right, I agree that they're weird. I agree they're weird, but I've seen enough cycles to know that we are indeed on track for that blow off top. Right, everything seems to be aligning. It's still been taken one day at a time, and it's still yet to be invalidated. If indeed we do get that blow off top, if indeed we do set a third angle for the stock market in the not too distant future, okay, everyone that's been here before has seen this chart over and over and over again. Okay, if this indeed is what is in play, if indeed we are going to set this blow off top angle, and we do sometime between, I think I've been saying, you know, July, August, but timing is always difficult. If it happens in November, then I'll still be like, well, yeah, that was fine. That's close enough for me. But anytime before November, if we get some kind of blow off top and a breakdown, that to me says we've got a long way to go until the end of 2026 before we can find a true bottom. Also, as you know, for Bitcoin, I've been saying, you know, it's right until it's wrong. If we spend a little bit more time, find that 60-day consolidation cycle low, and then start to fire off into a third angle and top sometime around July, August, like I expect, perhaps give me a couple of months wiggle room as always, right? Maybe it comes as late as November. That would still qualify it as left translated. We do something like this and break down, then we should be expecting from a cycle perspective not to see a bear market low until November of 2026. That's a long time, right? And that would just be a standard left translated cycle. That would just be standard fractalization. We've been over this a million times before. But the question is, why won't they step in and print and prop this thing up? And of course they might. That might be difficult to get through. I'm sure we'll get through it if it happens. But it is curious to me, like I said, when the student is ready, the teacher becomes available. And it seems to me like we're slowly but surely being given the information here. I don't know if it's going to be this solar cycle sunspot thing. I don't know if it's going to be some kind of cyber attack. I don't know if I'm going to turn out to be wildly incorrect, right? I don't know. But slowly but surely, this is all kind of feeding into this narrative that something is going to show up, something is going to prevent them from printing, and that will catch a lot of people off guard because everyone is so sure that we're never going to have another recession. They're just going to print like they did in C19 plunge, and everything's just going to keep happening the same way. But I submit to you, what if it doesn't, right? What if the cycles do what cycles do? What if we don't find those lows till the end of 2026? And what if we start to see some kind of scapegoat in the form of, I don't know, solar sunspots or cyber attacks? Pretty weird and wacky concept, I know, but it's certainly not my craziest idea. And I don't know, we're going to keep taking it one day at a time. But I'll be interested to get your opinion on this. I'll be interested for you to let me know what you think. Does this sound like I've been hitting that crack pipe again in the morning? Or do you think there's some merit to this? Remember, 90% of what I'm saying is, of course, speculation and conjecture, but I am saying it based on the cycles, right? Like I said, the cycles are the only thing I am sure of. The cycles are the only thing that seem to be coded, and everything else we fit narratives to explain and justify them. So let me know what you think. In other news, we've got Biden talking about perhaps adding a capital gains tax of 45% and even talking about some kind of tax on unrealized gains, right? So I've seen this a bunch of times before. I've seen some people speculating that maybe they're going to let Congress out of the top in line with that melt-up chart. You know, maybe that's what this is. Ban Congress for ethical reasons, quote unquote. Let them out of the top right before everyone else has to pay all of the tax. Just like they did to the Fed back here. Remember, they banned the Fed officials for quote unquote ethical reasons from owning stocks here, and then we went into a bear market. That's why I think this is here. That's why this is here. I wonder if that's what we're going to see. So I know some people are speculating that might be coming, right? That they'll let everyone out, they won't have to pay the tax, and then everyone else is left holding the bag and has to pay the increased tax. My personal opinion on this is we're probably not going to see it come to fruition. I found this from Sven, and I thought this made me laugh this morning, right? Meta beats on its earnings report, drops 10%. Tesla misses and goes up 10%. He's got this here of him throwing the intelligent investor in the bin. But again, this actually, believe it or not, feeds into what I was saying about the whole cycles of the coded thing, and everyone else just attributes whatever narrative they can to explain the cycle price action. Tesla cycles are bottoming, Meta cycles are topping. So even with good earnings, notice how the cycle is in control, okay? The market will find a narrative to explain why Meta is off 10%, right? Oh, well, it's because of something, right? The same as for Tesla. It misses earnings, but it doesn't matter because the cycles are bottoming. The market will find a way to explain this away. Well, it wasn't as bad as expectation, or well, electric cars aren't going anywhere. Whatever the narrative is, right? But the reality is Meta is topping. In fact, I know this for a fact because we sold very close to the top in the members section. And Tesla is close to bottoming. And again, I know this because I'm thinking about adding a position to Tesla in the member section in the not too distant future. So again, cycles are in control, right? And everyone else is along for the ride. Speaking of earnings, we've got Microsoft and Google coming up next. So that will be interesting. I have seen this before where we get this kind of earnings thing, the stock market and the NASDAQ, etc. pulls back. And then Microsoft comes out and saves the day. I wonder if that is going to be the same this time around. If not, then we might have to entertain another full daily cycle, more or less, like this, another full daily cycle of downside, perhaps, into the next daily cycle. That would become the weekly cycle, and then we can go from there, perhaps. However, if we do this, then it kind of would largely invalidate this whole blow off top idea, right? I mean, you could maybe argue this is going to be the second angle from here. I don't much like that idea. I don't think that's what's in play. The cycles, as I was saying, are in our favor right now. So, I mean, that doesn't preclude a move below that cycle low, but the cycle should be behind us. This should be enough, and we should be heading higher. So the cycles kind of tell me that we're probably going to see Tesla, Google, and Microsoft start to pull this market back up. And there is still plenty of sidelined capital, okay? This is retail money market funds, and it feeds into this whole idea of this whole melt-up being the most angriest, most doubted, most shorted, most hated, angriest rally ever. And you can see that here because retail's just missed out on the entire thing, right? They keep sitting out on the sidelines in cash. So the path of max pain, I suggest, is this into a third angle, and then all of that money is going to chase it higher and be dip buyers thereafter on the way down. At least that is the current working hypothesis. If any of this can start to roll over and find its way in, you better believe we're going much higher in the short to medium term. In other news, okay, Bitcoin doesn't care. As always, Bitcoin doesn't care. The hash rate is at all-time highs. Probably nothing, right? Probably nothing. Bitcoin adoption is still outpacing the internet adoption, okay? So we can see that here, Bitcoin in the darker gray. If we can maintain anywhere near the internet's adoption, then again, over the long term, price is probably going much, much higher. That doesn't change my stance that I still think we get that left translated cycle extended bear market, but out of there, I think will be the opportunity of a lifetime. We've also got Hong Kong's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs officially approved to begin trading on the 30th of April, just 5 days from now. And interestingly enough, it's going to have a 0% fee. A lot of people have been asking me if that will be the catalyst to drive this market higher. And I mean, it could be, right? If we look at this fractal, 30th of April is right around here. So are we just going to get a little bit of a bleed down, a little pop up, okay, cycle low, and then is it party time? Perhaps. But you know, this fractal has been pretty good. It even got the fake out failed cycle. We do still have to be open to seeing a lower low form for the cycle low. That fractal here obviously has a sideways timing based cycle low, but we should be open to a lower low. For now though, we'll just see what the market can give, right? Long and strong, stay in the trade, sit tight. And once we get to here, you know the deal already. Dixie still holding up pretty well, to be honest. Still holding up pretty well. So are we going to see this continue to be bid? In yesterday's video, I was talking about perhaps seeing a loss of confidence due to this whole thing with the confiscation of Russian assets. And Kemazabi pointed out that if people are going to panic sell the treasuries, it's probably going to strengthen the dollar, which feeds into this deflationary bust narrative even more with a stronger dollar and everything else rallying. For me, though, based on the charts, right, as I keep saying over and over again, until we lose this upwards open blue support line, until we start to get some failed cycles, then I have to remain bullish bias here. And this yellow squiggle of mine suggesting higher prices is still my base case. Gold is looking to find a cycle low. I don't know if that's in already. I just want to see a little bit more confirmation. I was talking to the members about this. Some members were saying, can we buy it? Can we buy it? And I was saying, look, you do you, but there's nothing to say we're not going to undercut this low one more time. We do need to see confirmation in the form of a big green push. If we can get that, then, as you know, members, we're going to be adding some of those related gold positions. For those of you looking to buy physical gold, if you missed the announcement yesterday, there'll be a link in the description and a discount code for you to use on physical gold and silver. So go and check that out. In terms of the stock market, we're going to find out, right? Is this just a little pullback before a slingshot higher? For now, long and strong continue to push. Still have not added the NASDAQ. I don't like to go all in the max exposure just at a cycle low in case this thing rolls over. I don't want to be paying full exposure in terms of stocks because they're all correlated. So for now, we're going to let this play out, see if we can do something like this, and then I'll go to full exposure on that breakout higher up. And the Dow Jones, long and strong continue to push there. Nothing else to say really. Same is true of the Russell 2K, right? Long and strong continue to push. Housing market short, getting a little bit of relief, but I still expect this thing to move lower. And silver possibly going to be thinking about coming swinging out of here and targeting $30 plus in the not too distant future. We just need gold to find that cycle low as well. In terms of the crypto stocks, you know, patience is the number one thing as we get to those cycle lows. So I hope you found some value here today. It seemed like I took it to a pretty weird place, but you know, that's what I do. Sometimes I take it to weird places. So I hope you enjoyed it, right? I hope you found some value. I hope you made it this far. And other than that, I hope you have a great week. Until tomorrow, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.